Three, two, one.
Value that it makes me see in myself. So when I wake up, I'm like, wow, dude, you did this. Like you pivoted at 39 years old when during a pandemic still. May not be the height of it, but like during the pandemic, during an economic recession, when everyone is like, if you quit your job, don't let Beyonce tell you to quit your job because you're an idiot. You pivoted, you resigned, but you didn't just resign a job that wasn't working for you. You pivoted into something else. That this job helps me see that.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, and family. Welcome to another edition of Tech Niche Tips. I am your host, Joseph M. Smith, and like always, I have another one for you. Now, this is from my musician / worship leader folk. As I don't know if you know this part of my story, but I have been a worship leader or involved in worship ministry since I was 10 years old, and I'm not gonna tell you how old I am right now, but it's been a while. So I'm pleased to have a guest to the stage that also shares that same background. I'm pleased to have none other than Emery. Hey, Emery, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. I cannot
Good,
complain at all.
good, good.
so, so I'm so glad that you're here with us. This is actually, for those that don't know, this is a long time coming. I was trying to reach out and talk to him a long time before when we were both on the journey, or at least when I just started getting into tech. And so I'm glad that we finally able to do it now.
But we're here. We're here.
Well, as you all may know, right, we have talked about this for quite some time. It's boots to the brain, boots symbolic of the journey one takes to get to where Emery is, and the brain is symbolic of the mindset someone needs to have to be where Emery is right now and also scale from there. So, man, I like to get from the very beginning of the journey because the beginning is a great place to start. Talk about your upbringing, where you were born. I love to get into that.
So I live in Indianapolis, Indiana right now. I'm a Hoosier now. Been here for about a year and a half, but I was born in Knoxville, Tennessee. And so I will tell you that I'm 39 years old. So, well, I ain't a spring chicken, but so I was in Knoxville for 37 plus years. Born and raised, go Vols, go Big Orange. And I have been, you mentioned worship, so I'm just going to kind of go that route. I actually have been singing in church choir since I can remember. My cousin's churches, my church, my grandparents' church, my church. I've just always been singing. And when I went to high school, I joined choir and chorus, choral music, and I had never sang it before, but I was a natural, and so that's kind of the route I took. Went to college, and continued to do that, and classically trained, sang some opera, musical theater, and I thought that was the direction I wanted to go in, but God had other plans, and I ended up teaching school for a couple of years, and I'm still very close to the majority of my students, my former students. Still love them so much, it's like my homies. But teaching itself was not for me. I loved the students. I loved the opportunity to pour into their lives, not just musically, but just from a life standpoint and a love standpoint. But teaching was not my thing. So I ended up leading worship at church because one of my students, who so happened to be my cousin, he invited me to a church to listen to him play and lead worship, and kind of took off from there. And so that was 2007, and I did that full time in some capacity from then until end of October last year, 2022. I had no idea how I was going to break into tech, as we say, but it was something that I had kind of grown interested and intrigued in years ago when I started. As I was a worship pastor, I also, if you know how church work goes, you wear a lot of hats. So I also was a creative director, media director for a little while. And so I started kind of piddling around with our website and WordPress and all of that thing, a mobile app. And I just grew super interested in tech. I love tech from a hardware standpoint, but I started to kind of fall for tech from a software standpoint. And so last year, when I realized that church work and just the rhythm of church work was not working for my family. And I'm married to my beautiful queen, and we have a 4-year-old little prince. And I just realized that the rhythm was not working anymore for our family. And gonna be candid about it. I was not enjoying church work anymore. It was not just the rhythm. The reality was I was just over church work. A lot happening in, culture and everything. And so I was just kind of, I think I reached my end. And so that was February of last year. My wife and I took this random 2-day trip to Chicago, just to kind of breathe and recalibrate, because I was like, I have to do it. And we do it. And while I'm there, I decide, you know what? I'm going to teach myself how to code. I'm going to learn how to code. People do it all the time. YouTube videos, all these websites. I'm just going to do that. And that's what I did. I started learning how to code. And by the summer, after I finished like 100 days of coding, I'm so proud of myself. But where do you go next, right? Like, I'm in a job. I'm still working in the church. I need money. And so I can't just quit my job. And so months passed, and now we're at the beginning of October. We take a vacation. Basically, don't let Emery take a trip, because I take trips and unplug, and I just start thinking. But we go on vacation, and I end up running into finding, scrolling, and out of nowhere, I'd never heard of Cyrus Harbin, and he is on my YouTube, algorithm. But hey, blessed for it. And I listened to a video where he's talking about him, and I believe it was Tiffany Poole. And we're talking about tech sales and being an SDR. Had no idea what a sales development rep was. And but what they were saying sounded like something that I could do. And so it was not, for me, I was not motivated to make that change simply because of dollar signs. I was motivated to make that change because of my well-being and my family. And I knew if I stayed in church work, no knock against anyone who's doing it, for me, it was time to be done. And I knew if I stayed in it, that I was not going to be the best version of myself much longer. I already felt like I wasn't, no matter how much I was leading worship. And so I started Course Careers when we got back from that trip in October. So it was endish of October, started Course Careers, and I was actually really bad at it. I was not, it wasn't that I wasn't retaining the information. There was so much going on, and I resigned from my job. I didn't say that part. I got back from vacation, and I now have this light at the end of the tunnel. I'm like, I can do this. I'm going to figure out how to become an SDR. And Course Careers is the way that I'm going. My wife and I were just super happy, jumped right into it. And I resigned from my job, which was just that, a whole thing in of itself. I resigned from my job. I'm finished there at the beginning of November. And now I've got this time to just sit with Course Careers and learn how to be an SDR and get a job, but I don't do it immediately. I think it's because I was kind of psyching myself out. And so it's another story for another day, but I just kind of piddle at it every, few weeks. And I'm like, oh, I took a week off from this, and I'm trying to build my LinkedIn, community or join the LinkedIn community and really be present. And I take a couple weeks here, and we'd go on a trip, and I take a couple weeks there. And then finally, by the end of December, obviously, financially, it's like money's running out, but practically just, I have to do this. Like, I got to make a decision. Am I just going to go find another job, or am I actually going to do this? End of December, we get back from a trip we took to visit family, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I not only jumped into Course Careers like I hadn't before, but I also jumped into LinkedIn like I hadn't before. And I just started learning more about what an SDR was, not just from an instructional way, but also watching those day in the life videos, right? I watched several of them because I'm like, okay, what are these people saying? And I listened to the pros, I listened to the cons, I listened to the in-betweens, and I felt like it was still something that I wanted to do and that I could excel in. And so I just really threw myself into LinkedIn. And when I say threw myself into LinkedIn, I say I was on LinkedIn for hours a day, for weeks at a time. And here I am. I had a guy reach out to me via LinkedIn earlier in January, late December, early January, and talked to me about a role that I really wanted, that I was interested in. But he didn't have a role open at the time. And so lo and behold, here I am now. Worked out later. And so that's all I'll say about that. It worked out. There are other stuff that went on in between that, but yeah. So here I am now. I'm going into week 3 of being an SDR and learning a lot with an amazing company, and that I love the product, but I also just love the company culture. And that's not something that I've been able to say for a really long time.
Hey there, thank you so much for watching this video. This video is actually sponsored by Course Careers. So whether you're interested in breaking in as a tech sales representative, if you're interested in actually doing IT or digital marketing, not only do they have free introductory courses for you right now, go to the description and check that out, but they also have $50 off that you could get through me, Joseph 50. That's right, $50 off through Joseph 50. So if you're interested in getting into that course, any which one, whether it's again tech sales, IT, or digital marketing, look no further. Go down to the description below, click on the link, and sign up right now. What are you waiting for?